Through, however, as we enter into pick and ban for game number 2. Frosco, thank you for joining us on this analyst desk. She'll be breaking down the game with us later. But that is Fizz going back for Coro 1. You can't see it here, but we're looking mighty confused on the desk because OMG, they knew how strong it was, but they decided to let it go through.
They banned Kennen instead of it.
Yeah.
So Fizz might just be a confidence thing. Xiyang can play the Renekton into it. It's not like the Renekton was bad. He did not feed. There's Gragas as well, often seen into the Fizz. They all get outscaled by Coro's Fizz, however, just because of the champion of choice. Very good carry champion. Can get into the backline whilst having a Trinity Force, but still be able to survive for as long as the Renekton, just with more kill threat there.
Yeah, we do still see a jungle pinch out of Clearlove on that Graves and Elise with a Gragas flex from World 6 and Xiyang. We'll see where that goes. But they do have the Frost Archer with them as AShe is locked in for Smlz in the bottom lane.
Picking up that AShe once again, taking it away from EDG this time, however. The question for me is, do EDG now in their second rotation pick up the Lulu perhaps with their jungler, or they just go straight towards their bottom lane?
Yeah, that seems to be their MO in this game number 2 as Varus is locked in for Zet. We saw how huge he was enabled by his team, how aggressively he was playing, not burning flash and still walking forward into the enemy team. Once again, he's got Lulu and is playing on that Varus.
A super early look into the Renekton, though. If you go for the Gragas, you expect that it goes top lane. It can, of course, be flexed into the jungle role, but usually teams will leave it as a flex.
Yeah.
You'll pick your support right now so that you don't get the role pinched, but they don't.
Yeah, that is now Renekton locked in for Team OMG. So we know that World 6 is taking this Gragas in the jungle, and you got to start wondering, what on earth are OMG thinking? Perhaps going to look for some crazy counter pick once again with the likes of a Xiyang or something?
Thresh.
Yeah.
Maybe they just pick themselves an aggressive support to maybe throw a spanner in the works when they see the full completed team composition. Thresh, actually not a bad choice. Now the Lulu has been locked in by Meiko, a legacy Thresh player.
Huge on those hooks if he can start setting up some pick, and then that lets them save counter pick for Icon in the mid lane. That's also now a Rek'Sai banned away from Clearlove. Still no jungle.
Yeah.
4 bans towards the jungle of EDG.
Kha'Zix, yeah, Clearlove, one of the best Kha'Zix players in the region. So as much as you want to ban him out, you're just taking away the champions that you don't want him to play either way.
Yeah, and as you said about that Thresh, EDG perhaps listening into us, banning it away from 5. So that means he's going to show us something a little different in the bottom lane.
It does also mean that the Ahri is up and available. So if they go for the Karma, they've got a very clear-cut strategy that it should be in the bottom lane. Every time Ahri has been available, it has been picked.
That means that Karma is now open. That could go towards Icon. That could go towards 5. But, like you said, the Kha'Zix goes through for Clearlove. That's instantly locked by Zet. And with the blind pick mid lane, Syndra still open. Scout is once again enabled. And just looking at EDG's composition, that is terrifying.
Yeah, and that might actually be the reason that Karma now stays mid. Depending on where OMG really want to go with this one. So they've got a spanner in the works that they want to throw in. Kassadin definitely a spanner. Syndra against the Ahri, I'd say a little bit more favored towards the Syndra perhaps. The wave clear can get matched, but not early in the lanes. Again, gives the advantage to Clearlove this time through jungling.
That is Ahri now locked in for Icon in the mid lane, so he's on that signature champion of his, which means the Karma goes to 5 down bottom. And with that, we've got our composition from OMG to try to answer back in game number 2.
Now, the first thing we have to hit, looking at EDG's entire composition, it is now completed, is that it's single target. You've got Syndra ultimate, Kha'Zix is single target, Fizz is single target. Most of their area of effect spells are incidental because they're aiming for one person. You know, like, just so happens that Scout can use his Scatter the Weak and actually stun multiple people, but he wants a target. Zet's ultimate, the same thing. All of this is about finding one member, killing that one member so they have a numbers advantage, and then their team composition will excel. But in the raw 5v5, again, OMG as a team, OMG as a draft, we'll be able to win that.
Perhaps relying on those comfort picks to try to turn this game around. We're going to be looking towards the jungles and the mid lanes with the huge damage that they can do. And of course, on the other side, Smlz back on that AShe. Absolutely massive performances here in playoffs. He'll have to show up against the likes of EDG as the legacy of roster of Team Edward Gaming makes a return from 2016 with Koro and Clearlove showing up huge in game number 1 to enable their team and continue pushing forward in game number 2.
And you know, a big thing that was missing in game number 1 for OMG that'll now be here in the second is that Ahri pick for Icon. One of the biggest strengths that it does actually provide for him is the ability to just use his ultimate and get out alive. The big problem that they encountered in game number 1 was that his flash was burnt early by a Fizz roam, whereas now, if there's a Fizz roam towards the middle lane, Ahri can just use her ultimate, can completely avoid having to flash, and then if they come a second time, which is what Clearlove did in the first game, then he has to use the summoner spell, but will still live.
Yes, Ahri very mobile, capable of escaping those ganks, and on the opposite side, you take a look at the Gragas. Hopefully it is a little bit of a softer early clear, but he usually jungles at high health, so if he finds himself out of position, won't be punished too heavily. But of course, that is all to be determined as we get ready to enter into game number 2 of this third place match between EDG and OMG. And let's see if the crowd is still chanting.
They definitely are. So was that guy.
Yeah.
Definitely excited. Of course, OMG, EDG, we saw a 4% difference.
I love the juxtaposition between the EDG chants, like, oh, game number 1, Koro and Clearlove, you can do it. EDG fighting. And then OMG shows up, let's win! EDG, let's go, OMG!
I know we saw the 4% difference in the fan vote, but it does usually show up again between games in sets. So I'm curious to see if the 4% difference that favored OMG disappears through a game going to EDG.
And with that, we have everyone loading out onto the Rift. Looks like a standard line defense from EDG on their side of the map as the jungle is now being scouted out by Koro. He's saving a ward just to get an eye on the start of World 6, whereas Clearlove is looking to start off with his own Raptor camp. Not getting a leash from Zet and Meiko, so he will be on his own.
Yeah, so now we have to highlight not just the jungle pathing or where they're going to be focusing, perhaps where they're clearing first. We also look towards a couple of interesting things that are transpiring across the Rift just from drafting and summoner spell choices. First and foremost, Scout has gone for the cleanse. He's against an Ashe arrow, so there's always going to be merit in the cleanse. But the biggest thing that you need as Syndra, if you're looking to burst people out, is that you basically have to one-hit them with your combo.
Yeah.
And with Icon having exhaust, you do want to actually be able to use that cleanse to dodge out of the exhaust. Something that Rookie has done multiple times when he plays Syndra is pretty much always run cleanse.
Yeah, and with how sharp we've seen Scout in game number 1, it's still very volatile for Icon. Though mobile, he is still playing it very risky. Clearlove is now invading into the jungle of World 6. Gets a ward onto the blue buff as Zet is eating a tether. The level 2
really
from
low.
OMG. They hit the volley, but great body block from Meiko. Keeps his carry alive. Clearlove is on this side of the map, and despite that, just clearing out Scuttle. Takes over level 3.
He actually knows that Gragas is low health. Clearlove's goals do not revolve around his bottom lane that have got no health. Even if a fight were to break out down there, they'd be at risk of dying. In fact, he's looking mid.
Yeah, Scout goes forward. He's shrunk down to half health. The stun follows over the wall, but Icon has put enough distance between he and the gank of Clearlove.
And notice where Clearlove's immediately going to go now. You can see World 6 doing the blue buff. His bottom lane stuck under the turret. They should not get dove. They've got enough health. Remember, a long sword start from Zet playing his Varus. So he's going to have extra potions of sustain. He can take the blue, he can do a full clear now on his top side of the jungle if he chooses, or he can come straight back towards the middle lane and try and get another gank off.
Yeah, looks like we're seeing World 6 though. Ganking bottom, there's a ward from Tri-Bush. As 5 goes in, heal is instantly burned. Smlz continues to chase forward, but EDG make it under their turret. And now this is the change up we wanted to see from OMG as they are aggressively pressing bottom lane.
Clearlove might have his timing out on the Raptors. They should be coming up shortly, so that's why he's placing the vision now invading. It's not all that worthwhile to just straight up go for Krogs. Usually it's just to get you the level 4 before a recall, as this bottom lane is definitely the place we need to put most of our attention towards. No health potions remaining for EDG. They're both very low. There are wards to protect them, but the 2v2 is what they need to be protected from right now. Smlz feeling confident.
Yeah, and World 6 is still on this side of the map. He's actually... Oh, I think he was just outside. No, they did see him. Okay. Very close to tell whether or not it was the observers toggling or if he actually stepped into vision.
And notice, Scout isn't just running away. He's not saying, hey guys, we have you warded. This is obvious. I'm just going to back away and now you're going to leave. He actually stays up plays aggressively, but just never plays towards the bottom side of the lane. So there wasn't really a way in for the Gragas this time around. So World 6, that's not a big deal, but it was 5 extra seconds that he wastes. If he doesn't get this camp, it was a lot more.
Yeah, and World 6 is denied as Scout heads on down towards that side of the map. Zet again takes another hit as the volley trades. Meiko has no flash. Oh, and 5 does not trigger it. Flashes in!
No.
And that's an auto attack as they trade support for AD.
Clearlove's now coming straight. There's no reason for Meiko to stay unless something is up, right? Smlz, no flash. Explosive plant used to get over the wall. He knows that it's just a W away.
Oh,
no heal for the Ashe.
Nowhere for him to go. He's looking for Meiko, but caught by the Void Spikes.
Hello.
Fires a few auto attacks before Clearlove summarily executes him.
Even a sly smirk on Smlz's face, something you very rarely see. He knew he was dead. Clearlove gets a free kill, and EDG almost just both die. And fortunately for them, they play it only barely well enough to make a trade.
And look at how OMG are playing that bottom lane so aggressively, so desperately to take an early advantage and put Zet down into the ground. We know how instrumental Smlz is on these carries for his team. If they can get him ahead, that would be a huge boon. But now it's 2-1 in favor of EDG. You can see the first blood did go on to Zet.
World 6 is about to be spotted, but Koro has no flash, so there's always a chance that this results in a kill.
Yeah, Xiyang lands the snare. Koro sidesteps, and that is him going down. OMG get a kill up top.
Koro actually just dashed into the body slam.
Yeah, as that's flash ultimate onto Icon. Clearlove leaps up as well, and Icon, despite being mobile, despite having exhaust, is tagged by Scout and dies.
Because he's level 5, so the Ahri goes down. Now in the bottom lane, no Lulu to protect him.
Oh, he's snared out. He's eating a lot of damage with Ignite. 5 finishes off that kill. And again, OMG just playing their lanes top and bottom successfully.
Hard winning in the bottom lane, though, with this minion wave crashing. The advantage that Smlz is about to get in experience as well as farm, meaning gold. Closer to that level 6.5 going back to base means all the experience is going to be there for Smlz. EDG definitely suffering in a lane this time around where they were not in game number 1. So this is a positive sign, if nothing else, that one area of the map is now doing better. But Icon, again, flash blown. Second repeat gank comes out of the Kha'Zix as Scout ticks 6 and Icon barely isn't. Gets that advantage, makes the most of it. Ahri can't get out alive.
And now things are looking pretty dire for that bottom lane. So Zet and Meiko make like a tree and go top lane to start trying to bully Xiyang. They're actually diving this as well. Koro is there.
Risky.
Yeah, he's very tanky. That's Ignite burning him down as well. Koro staggers the aggro very well as Clearlove leaps away and Koro goes down. Xiyang gets a kill before finally looping back to give a kill over towards Zet. That's a lot of time wasted. We can see OMG now pushing a big wave bottom, but this is a push advantage for EDG.
Yeah, they're pushing first. They've got a cannon, so it'll be a pretty good push from EDG. I don't think they'll go for a second turret. They should just recall. But Koro's also going to be back alive in 2 seconds and doesn't have teleport. That's why you'd expect that EDG will actually maybe push this one through to the turret and then cancel. But as it stands, they feel confident enough. They have enough time that they are able to do this. And by seeing World 6 recall, EDG have definitely acknowledged they can just get it to the turret, then they can call it quits.
That is a very long-range arrow coming across from Smlz.
Cross country.
Oh, yeah.
I think EDG were aware. He threw it on top of the turret.
Yeah, misses that line vision as Clearlove steals away the red buff from World 6. Xiyang shows up and tries to chase away the bot lane of EDG. He does have dominance and knows that they have no flash from the trading during the laning phase. But 5 and Smlz are just continuing to push this wave into Koro.
Yeah, they don't know where the jungler now is of EDG. So the same rule applies down here. You would expect push into the turret, disappear. They have so much vision actually through the jungle red side of EDG, but Clearlove's coming through the lane.
Racing his way on down there, Koro tries to hold the wave, but allows it to crash into the turret as Scout zones Icon away. Level 6 means that Icon does do some damage, dashes in, holding onto the charm, lands it, but an immediate cleanse. World 6 follows up, auto attack is not enough, and World 6 jumps the cask just to knock it over.
Scout actually juked expecting the ultimate to come out of the Gragas, but World 6 just held it, didn't want to use it. It was feeling greedy, and that means that Scout just walks into an auto attack from the Gragas with the red buff. So goes down, Cask is used to ensure his death, but good moves from OMG. Even though Scout played that pretty well, there's only so well you can play it against a flash body slam and an Ahri with exhaust up.
Yeah. Great play from OMG to take the initiative here. Xiyang is now pushing up top to get some damage on that. Again, sees Zet and Meiko along with Clearlove go missing, so has to play it safe. And now we're seeing OMG come alive in this best of 5 as they have found momentum during the laning phase. Now they just need to start converting it into some more concrete objectives because EDG were the ones who responded to those kills bottom and took the first turret by swapping up top.
Yeah, there's definitely some fight in the system here from OMG, suffice to say, but you'd still be looking at EDG and saying Clearlove is actually playing super well. He's a smart player right now, and Scout has got some momentum actually backing him up. That feeling could be enough to get EDG over the line, but Zet is falling behind, definitely is struggling a little bit. We start to highlight how they play as the map progresses.
Yeah, blue buff picked up by EDG as OMG will now take that Mountain Dragon, not even using Smite as that was completely uncontested. Zet getting some much needed time up top to clear out a minion wave, get that gold, race towards his Blade of the Ruined King. Even Koro and Scout are playing towards that side of the map. This is 5 members of EDG up here. Actually, Scout decides to hang out mid.
They really want to get this turret, but the arrow's going to come out again. They're setting themselves up to counter it.
Here it goes. Xiyang goes in, and the arrow, is just going to miss. As EDG back away, just getting some chip damage onto that top turret and breaking any potential freezes by Xiyang.
Yeah, Xiyang actually goes in a half second too early, so Smlz was never going to hit the arrow, but for what it's worth, EDG, by dragging everybody up there, they get the arrow thrown out, they find the opportunity to push mid lane simultaneously, and they are actually still opening the map ever so slightly more than OMG are able to do, because Smlz was bottom, turret was already taken, his team was not working around him, they're choosing to defend what EDG are doing.
And like you said, though we're seeing Zet behind by about 30 CS to Smlz, that CS differential is more than made up in the mid lane. Scout is almost 30 CS ahead of Icon, currently 24, and this is the fact that he's maintaining pressure in this lane. He's maintaining kill threat on an Ahri with exhaust.
There is, however, a very big croc in the top lane to deal with. 2 kills in the same CS as the Fizz means that he'll have his Black Cleaver very soon, and when he manages to complete that Black Cleaver, Zet's going to be having a bad day trying to get through the croc.
Yeah, it's a bit interesting to see how EDG have now put him towards the mid lane. There's nobody left to defend top, and though Xiyang doesn't have any vision, he's going to get some health back, just clear out some of these honey fruit. Yeah, sees Scout there.
Actually taking the honey fruit gives Xiyang rage.
Yeah.
In his range.
Oh, these honey fruit are so delicious!
Yeah, they're so tasty, I'm angry.
I mean, there are different kinds of rage. There's like, I'm going to kill your rage, but there's also
it's like the last Tim Tam in the packet rage.
Like, I just wish I had more! But Xiyang just going to head back towards the mid lane. It really is. I've only been here for a few months, but I agree. Tim Tams are delicious.
Oh yeah, they're only Australian, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, you all miss out.
Yep. Though OMG will now try to defend mid lane as Meiko and Zet buy a lot of time to get more CS on that AD carry. Still down by about 30, now almost 40 CS. As Smlz will answer that push. The only lane that he's really safe in now is that mid tier 1 if he can play this safely now that top and bottom have fallen. Or excuse me, top has fallen.
And we're hitting a pretty good point here for Clearlove in particular as well. Going for the Merc treads with his completed Warriors enchantment means that he should be the one standing in front still, as they have got the
Chain of Corruption onto Smlz. They're doing damage. Icon dives in to look for an assassination, but Exhaust denies his damage. Teleport goes out from both and is completed from both top laners, as World 6 is escorted into his jungle.
Simultaneous teleport timings means that they're both aware, they were both just coming in, but they weren't actually a part of an engage. They were both reacting to an engage that wasn't actually meant to happen. Smlz throws an arrow, Varus throws out his chains, and everybody kind of just walks away with ultimates burned across the map. Except OMG.
They continue pushing down mid, and it's up to Zet to try to hold it. He only has Blade of the Ruined King, and with Meiko firing Glitter Lance across, it's not enough to finish off those minions. Xiyang is nice and tanky. He dives on, but it's Icon who's taking the initial burst of damage. Flash, snare, stun. Smlz gets the turret, but Scout does not get the auto attack kill. Actually, 1 health from Smlz.
That's so unfair for EDG. He thought the auto attack was enough, but it was not, and by the smallest of margins. OMG get themselves the turret for no trade, just a forced recall. And now they have to try and defend the map. as they go back to base, but right now this is much better from the OMG side. Game 1 to 2 turnaround. Pretty standard for them at the moment.
Yeah.
Still good.
The classic OMG turnaround. You can never count this team out. And EDG now find themselves down about 1,200 gold. Though they've done a lot of work on that mid-tier 1, that'll even things out. So all in all, it's still fairly even in terms of gold when you exclude those turrets. But though EDG have got the momentum in the set, OMG have shown that they're not afraid to fight back.
It's actually like they have to reverse sweep because it changes their mentality or something.
Yeah,
or they have to get a trade of some kind. Losing makes OMG a better team. It's just directly correlated to their performances.
They're like Saiyans. The closer they are to dying, the stronger they become.
Yeah.
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 Just cut off their arm and they become even stronger. Or
Let's
don't do that because that sounds really difficult. As Smlz tries to catch a minion wave up top. Ooh, skirting around the range of that stun.
He may not get one hit, however, by Scout, even though Scout is level 11. He's chose to gone for a Negatron Cloak.
Yeah.
Doesn't have Zork Shoes completed, so his damage is lacking a little bit. And because there is actually a magic resistance item there from Smlz, albeit a small amount, that'll save him from potential true damage out of Sorcerer's Shoes that aren't even there.
Now we can see blue buff from EDG being contested by World 6, and they're bringing Icon and the rest of OMG as well. They've got Smlz's arrow too.
Blue buff contest should just go over to Scout. You'd expect World 6 actually beats the Smite Wall. Now, the other thing that I really want to hit on this before it's actually used is GLP 800 is picked up by Icon.
I was going to point it out.
Instead of going for a Proto Belt, which is where he was going, he last second pivoted towards going for the GLP. It means that he's actually going to be a bit more frontline for the team. When you look at their engage, it's an Ashe arrow and then a Gragas perhaps to follow it up. But if they have multiple threats or multiple flanks, OMG would actually always have better engage. And now they've got a Renekton to flank. They've got an Ahri who's a bit more tanky, just can absorb more damage, especially trading his mana for it. Does that all the time.
Spirit Rush GLP for a huge AoE slow burst. And then hopefully Ashe can follow up with a big arrow. Maybe World 6 can get a cask for some follow-up damage.
The major difference as well is that it provides a slow. Not that the burst is exceptionally better or worse between the items, but the slow is important to enable his team as their committal crowd control is either on top of you or just the Ashe arrow. They have no definite CC.
And this really speaks to the growth of Icon as a player. Historically, a huge assassin player. He's recently translated towards his control mages and even support mages to help his team and help them see success, because we know how instrumental he is for his team. 1 health left, but still gets the auto attack on that blue buff. And now he is on his signature Ahri. He is on an assassin, but he's playing it to support his team.
And I'm no Icon expert, but I would define this as a help me, help you.
Yeah.
So that they help him.
Exactly.
Like the transaction works in that he still wins, but he just wants them to help him win.
I'll give you a 5 if you give me 5 ones.
Yes.
Yeah. Just a back and forth. So Icon playing around his team. We'll have to keep an eye on his performance as he's still down a level. There's the GLP from Minion Wave clear, and you can see he's actually still nice and healthy after that initial trade from Scout, who holds on to his ultimate.
He is still going to be pressured out by 3 people, though. Koro nearby, Clearlove also on the flanks, hiding.
Yeah, they're bringing Zed and Meiko as well. This is the whole squad from EDG showing up to take down the bottom tier 1. OMG are now racing mid.
This is still really good from EDG, just because they're progressive. They're trying to get structures down. If they get it soon enough, which they will, they can send Koro back to base, acknowledging that it's not being contested. He can defend top lane, but can they get mid in time? Or are they being too greedy for a red buff?
Yeah, they're stopping at the red, and Smlz, he doesn't have his Runons finished, so not a lot of attack speed. Doesn't have Lulu either. Fires the arrow and misses. And despite the zone control, despite the red buff, they don't have enough to finish it off as Chain of Corruption misses, and the Chum the Waters misses. Xiyang gets good damage onto Clearlove as Koro flanks from the side, but EDG show up and defend their tier 2, taking that turret advantage.
Barely alive, however, it is alive. Varus ultimate unfortunately missing, or the follow-up could have been very real. But it feels like with the amount of health that is now missing on that turret, it will just go down.
Yeah, they decide to go in. That's the cask. Scout gets knocked in. He does have his flash. It's a lot of burst. Icon dashes in and right back out as the exhaust is used. And they just trade a few summoner spells and ultimates back and forth.
And a good cleanse from Scout to ensure the Gragas cask was not going to throw him into the team. He actually cleanses, moves to the side, and just gets knocked sideways by the Gragas ultimate. So for what it's worth, that was good from Scout in particular to ensure that there was no bad team fight breaking out afterwards. EDG just throw themselves in to ensure they're primary target or their biggest carry at the moment does get out alive.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy breaks out, but still a gold lead for EDG. Still advantage on the map to OMG.
Yeah. They are now 40 CS ahead for Smlz. Still working towards that rune and should hopefully have enough gold now that that mid-tier 1 has gone down. That's Clearlove. Field goals in between the Krugs.
Levels up Spikes as well. You can see he has no wings.
Yeah. So plan for the team. So we did start with Evolved Claws for increased isolation damage. Not quite finding too many assassinations this game, though he has been moving around the map.
He's also always the Kha'Zix player that will evolve his claws first. It was originally picked by Clearlove because of the objective control that evolving the claws has. When nobody else played Kha'Zix, he played Kha'Zix. Because you can go for an earlier Drake, or you can try and get an earlier Baron at the 20-odd minute mark and just break open the map with those objectives being taken down. It's a very different ideology from EDG now in between games 1 and 2, is that instead of maybe generating the pick, they might just do the objective when OMG aren't aware.
Well, currently, now that Baron's up, they're sitting just outside of vision. Good blue trinket spots out the death brush from EDG. As Icon sitting nice and far back, places it down well in advance. You can see the recall was completed from Zet. He's got his own rune-ons. The arrow, splits in between, but Xiyang follows through. He's managed to get damage onto Zet. His scout has flashed the wall. That's no sums on Syndra. And Koro TP's in. A charm tags him forward. They managed to get Chain of Corruption and Chum the Waters onto World 6. He's so tanky, though. Just going to turn around and walk back, heal up because he is Gragas. And with that wild growth, we just have ultimates traded once again.
They're all bursting each other out, but no one's dying because one team has a Lulu. They've got summoner spells available. The other team has a Gragas who has a W.
Yeah, Xiyang is continuing to push forward along with Smlz as they bring that minion wave in. They are brute forcing EDG away from the river, away from the Baron.
They want this blue buff though. EDG really want this. And OMG are going to be the ones to push in to take it.
Yeah, that's Scout of the Week misses, and Clearlove says, you want this? This is mine.
Scout says no.
Yeah. Picks it up, tosses it towards himself before heading towards the minions. He's got no summoners, but does have his team to back him up and still holding on to his ultimate. He's going to drop it on the World 6 and has more than enough to pop him over.
And Xiyang just tries to bring a dead ragdoll over with him.
Yeah.
It actually stays behind. That's what happens with explosive plants. We're learning interactions today, family.
Physics in League of Legends.
If you're dead, you don't have them. You're just on the ground.
You simply exist. Or in this case, don't exist, as it's a sepia-toned lens through which World 6 is viewing the game right now. At the 22-minute mark, it's still only a 1,500 gold difference between the two teams, but we're now looking at Chloro setting up a flank. He's almost got Ignite, and he almost has chummed the waters.
He can't 1v1 Xiyang, however.
Bullies him away by single-handedly scouting out. Icon finds Scout, and that's a quick assassination. They try to dive on the Zet. He gets the knock-up, and they find some follow-up. There's the true damage as Xiyang gets a stun. They're doing so much as he walks away, and even Blade of the Ruined King. As Enchanted Crystal Arrow was used by Smlz, they're just running them down. Xiyang does not get his dice of the slicing, but he's got more than enough to make up for it with his wide AoE. Clears that kill. That's Scout and Zet dead.
Yeah, it's a really big pick, actually. So 2 carries dead from EDG straight towards not only the Baron, but where their vision has been set up. The vision that allowed OMG to make that pick in the first place, and now they start this off. EDG on the back foot, both carries deceased, no health or mana there for Clearlove. They just let it go and they trade for a Drake.
Yeah, deciding not to risk it. EDG playing the intelligent game. Just going over towards that Cloud Dragon as Baron is picked up by OMG at the 23-minute mark. 7 kills to 5, now 4,000 gold ahead. As a great split from OMG on 2 fronts. They defend the mid-tier 1 at such low health, and they manage to catch out Scout on the opposite side of the flank. So minor mistake ends up costing EDG a lot of time and a lot of presence.
It's not even just a minor mistake if it's going to cost that much. One pick on the Scout can cost the entire game. Zet not having a good performance right now, definitely struggling. Doesn't have the QSS to keep him alive when they're flashing and stunning him. And just like as simple as it is for Icon as well in this Ahri, knowing there's no ultimate on Scout, can only use 2 of the charges, get the 3rd one in there, and completely burst down Zet. It is Icon right now making these plays happen. He's setting his team up for success just by being a carry.
It is so important for OMG to maintain their momentum because we know how efficient EDG are at coming back. If you give even the tiniest openings, they can try to wedge themselves back into the game and pry this right back open. But OMG are now playing this nice and patient. They're pushing up mid, setting up a 1-4 between top and bottom as they look for the next tier 2. And Koro has managed to sneak into this bush.
I don't think he can 1v1 Icon, though. They need more than just Koro around. They do have more than just Koro around, but...
He's still sitting there. And
he has to stay.
Yeah, he will turn around now, actually targeting Smlz. The AD carry, the turret has died, but Smlz is still alive as Koro tries to kill the AD carry, just shredding through. He's got the support of his team, though, and it's close, and he will be able to kill him, but the rest of OMG have finished the fight on the front. And yes, Koro, you did your job, but you lost the tier 2, and you lost your team. You very well might lose your base.
Yeah, pretty much might just be the game here. 4 dead, only Clearlove alive, and the Baron-empowered minions should be able to persevere them through. You would expect that OMG would go for it, but unfortunately we're too early into the game and the death timers are far too low, so there is no possibility of finishing it just yet for OMG.
It's still so early in this game too. 25 minutes in, but OMG have broken the base. Here's that fight again. Koro tries to dive and is successful eventually, but EDG die in the meanwhile.
And it starts with Clearlove getting caught out of position, but a cast from World 6 knocks Zet into the middle of the fight where his only way out is running through Xiyang. So he just has to try and stand and deliver as best he can. That was pretty much a team fight without the Renekton, where he was just in the back afterwards. But Scout, nowhere to go. Zet just dead from the very beginning. Big plays from the Gragas.
Absolutely huge with that cast. And that's amazing because we haven't seen World 6 take Gragas at all during the regular season of the spring split. And now he's breaking it out here in playoffs to huge effect against EDG. Now this is OMG still with the Baron buff on World 6. He does have that duration along with 5.
Smlz has the arrow. Definitely able to throw that one out. No cleanse used yet, thankfully, from Scout. So he is able to be that frontline member. Against the Baron buff empowered team, those QSSs, those cleanses are the most crucial part. And so only Scout can really press forwards. The rest of the team will get stunned up consistently.
And here comes the next minion wave. Teleport onto the turret from Koro to join up with his team. They managed to get the stun onto Smlz, but that's Quicksilver Sash. Xiyang sidesteps. Redemption dropped very far forward to heal them up. And there is no Executioner's Calling. There is no Morellonomicon reduced healing. So they're able to get themselves up quite a bit. They've still got Mountain Dragon ticking across, and Baron will finally fall off. But OMG are still primed to make something happen.
Yeah, the Baron falling off does actually mean, however, that Scout's wave clear, Zed's wave clear all now just gets a little bit easier to do. They took the teleport away from Koro, but because they're stuck inside their own base, EDG are happy to do that. They'll just wait it out. There's another dragon in 2 minutes, but it's another cloud. Doesn't mean all that much for either of these teams. The two buffs, however, because they each have a Cloud Drake, means the move speed would be great. But if you're losing the game, do not fight for the Cloud Drake.
Absolutely not, yeah. That would be very wacky to see OMG make a mistake like that. And again, this is with the likes of Clearlove and Koro. They are both returning from the bench here in this 3rd place match against OMG, having a strong early game performance, a strong game number 1 performance. Game number 2, they now find themselves unable to hard carry against the unified front of OMG in these creative, chaotic fights, I should say. And with Super Minions now pushing in bottom, Koro has got to catch this.
Yeah, but he's also gone for the Iceborne Gauntlet, so not a lot of damage compared to what the Trinity Force provides, but more armor and an AoE slow will be there. So he's just going to be hunting down Smlz, chasing him constantly. Not really any magic resistance on himself, however, so Icon could have his way with Fizz whenever he wants.
Yeah, and speaking of Icon, he's completed a lot more since he's finished off that GLP. Void Staff and Haunting Guys. And now that's Phantom Dancer picked up from Smlz on that next recall. You've got the Lock to the Iron Solari from 5, not to mention he's a Karma for even more shielding, plus the Redemption as well. All in all, we're seeing big items of OMG as they're 8,000 gold ahead. They've still got that inhibitor broken bottom. And without Baron for another 90 seconds, they're just setting up vision around that dragon, around that side of the map.
The gold lead's sizable enough that OMG, if they lose this, will be some kind of monumental mistake. But EDG, with their team composition, also can destroy a single target.
Yeah.
I mentioned this already, but if they do catch someone out, then they can kill that single person. It's about what they can do after that, because everything burned for one person, OMG still can probably take that 4v5.
They just might be able to. If Smlz survives, if Icon survives, huge damage on them. And now we're starting to see some more tanky items finished up from Xiyang as Smlz finishes off the Cloud Dragon. Luckily, he's got red buff and more than enough sustain on that Blade of the Ruined King to finish it off. You can see how furiously he attacks.
A lot of auto attacks per second coming out of Smlz. As you mentioned, the red buff regenerates now at the max amount because of his level. He'll be back in no time.
And back to full health. So, Cloud Dragon picked up. Baron's up in 30 seconds. You just saw recall out of Icon. He's still waiting for a little bit of gold.
You are putting words together a lot.
Who now? What? Now where? What?
Your recall out of Icon just became Recon.
Recall out of Icon? It's the Recon out of Icon? Oh, he's got enough for Zhonya's now. Okay. So we finished that. Look, it's been a long week, Rusty.
It has.
And fresh stack of wards from 5. World 6 also has a fully topped off Tracker's Knife. And you can take a look at the control wards out of 5, Icon, and Xiyang.
We've managed to make it to 30 minutes as well for just EDG, trying to find some saving hopes for this team. We're getting to the point where their items are starting to exist, even compared to the likes of OMG, but right now the Baron spawns, the vision's there for OMG. There should be no world with which EDG can contest this. Especially if Icon's able to so confidently clear this middle wave and keep them all back.
Yeah, he's keeping them occupied for a long time. OMG have worked it down to about half health, but EDG are now racing forward. Spotted out. Icon misses the charm, but that's Clearlove ready to get in. Clearlove goes in and he gets the steal. Amazing. Icon is split from the fight, and that's Smlz dying as well. He's still holding on to that Spirit Rush, though, as the redemptions are layered, trading one for the other, and Xiyang dies as well. And EDG steal the Baron and win the fight.
And welcome back to the LPL Clearlove. Icon still has his ultimate and he's looking, but has not found a single thing. EDG, from a position in the game where they should have just lost, OMG disrespect them, and look what happens.
Massive mistake from OMG as now their tier 2 is about to crumble. World 6 tries to get onto the minions, but he's against a Baron buff. And now he's being chased down by Clearlove and Koro. They're riding the blast cone. Icon walks in, trying to get some damage onto the unprotected back line of EDG, but tries to be respectful. That Spirit Rush burned as well, and Clearlove shows up in time to punish him.
That Clearlove might just be dead.
Yeah, 5 is going to get there for the heal, but that's an auto attack from 5, homing through the shields and finishing off Clearlove. But EDG have now reclaimed momentum in this game.
And this is the steal coming out of Clearlove. Just gets it with the smite. Lulu able to keep him alive, and assassinating the 2 members inside the pit around World 6 shows that Meiko turns him into a small creature as they kill the rest. Really good communication out of EDG from an impromptu decision. So
yeah,
credit where it's due. They get the steal. Clearlove keeps them in the game, and OMG are their own worst enemy based off how that did play out. The fact that Icon wasn't there to zone them, he was pushing mid lane. You expect that they would have taken it in time, but once they actually got their way in, they found the track to the Baron pit. Icon was nowhere to be seen, missing charms left, right, and center.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, though, EDG definitely threw themselves a bit disjointedly at their opponents for a turret. They still get the turret.
Yeah.
We're back to 4K.
And to be clear, World 6 did smite. Baron was at 1100 health when World 6 smited, trying to time his smite through Clearlove's damage, but Clearlove, going through all of the abilities, got his half a second later, heck, even a quarter of a second later, and was able to get the execution on it. So now that neutral objective is on EDG. Koro split pushing bottom with teleport. The rest of EDG are now setting up vision around the Elder Dragon, as it's going to be the next to spawn in just a few minutes. And like you said, it's only 4,000 gold difference between the team. They're still playing around this vision on the bottom side of the map, but EDG are grouped up. They are a moving rock trying to roll through EDG's side of the map.
And OMG is still in a position where they can win this game, 100%. EDG with momentum, though, getting the Baron means that they've turned this back around to at least closer to a neutral stance. However, OMG, they've already broken the base. If they get a one-team fight, they can just go straight through that bottom lane if they choose. And they're pressuring mid to try and bring EDG back to a position where it favors them. However, they've changed their attention towards Koro.
With a little sidestep,
even
Icon is trying to show up as he dashes in on that Signature Champion. Lands the slow, lands the charm. They've got a lot of crowd control, but this is a tanky Fizz. Leaps over and away. World 6 is slowed. Redemption to top him off. He's still alive. Gets 600 health, but a cast knocks him in. He dashes away and leaps towards his team. Koro.
Thank you, Meiko.
You can hear the applause from the audience, and look at the sad faces of the OMG fans in the front. Just really?
We just cut to the audience clapping because he lived. That is so sad. That's amazing.
Yeah. Amazing from Koro to survive. You mentioned that he would end up outscaling. Well, I think he's reached that point.
I think he's reached a point of tankiness where it's going to take a lot to kill him. Ahri ultimate burnt, Ashe arrow burnt, but he did dodge a lot of spells. So
yeah.
For what it's worth, Koro did his best attempt at living and is able to succeed. Compliments of a redemption.
Yes. And now with 45 seconds for that Elder Dragon to spawn, there's no Baron on the map. EDG used it purely defensively. He's recalling right now. Smlz is holding on to his arrow. He doesn't have it. Oh, and he's just outside of vision as well. So Zet is allowed to recall, picks up a pickaxe to go with his own quick, Runons
this
and
is
Quicksilver.
still going to be a death bush.
Yeah, they rush for the arrow. Goes in. That's an early charm, or cleanse, as he is allowed to walk away. Teleport is started and canceled by Koro in that lane, but Elder Dragon's up in 20 seconds. We just saw the arrow used and the Spirit Rush from Icon.
Exactly, 2 big ultimates burnt from OMG. Generally speaking, the engage ultimates out of them, barring the Gragas as 5
Koro
is caught.
still somehow ends up behind him. He's found the support and demolishes him with the support of his team. Through the choke, they push forward. Tank versus tank. World 6 looks for a cask but doesn't find anyone, as that is a very premature Dominus from Xiyang, expecting more of an engage, but EDG take a kill, reset their vision, and reclaim control over the river.
And look at the spillover effect of just having Koro live. Does cancel the teleport, but he was top lane, so he just walked down. EDG now immediately starting off the Elder Dragon, 4v5, but it's only the support who has passed away from OMG. World 6 will still look for it.
Yeah, Elder Dragon is trying to get some damage onto EDG. You can see how annoyed that old man is, trying to get back towards his base. I just want to sit here and sit in my fountain. But OMG are being bullies and trying to reset it over and over and over.
OMG are now continuing this one off.
Yeah.
Trying their luck, seeing if EDG have actually left. They have not.
Icon is there. 5 is finally respawned.
This could
He's
be another
racing
smite
forward.
wall.
Yeah. Down to 7,500 health. Meanwhile, minions are pushing in bottom. That's not going to be enough to clear out a wave. And actually, Scout is actually going down.
Yeah, no teleport from Scout. No teleport from Koro. They're still committing to this.
Yeah, they're now turning onto the
It is
Elder.
on Clearlove.
Clearlove is there. Chain of Corruption onto Xiyang.
Reset.
Meiko looks to go in. It does reset to about 3,000. It's so close. They try to burst it. Icon is got by Chum the Waters. 5 is snared. And Clearlove steals it again. That's redemption used by OMG to try to keep themselves topped off, but they are split. Scout goes in and goes down. A great cast from World 6. Meanwhile, Koro's in the back line. He doesn't have enough to single-handedly take out 3 members. And scattered though the fight is, they got the Elder Dragon, but they gave up their lives for it.
Yeah, there's actually too many people dead. I don't think Clearlove by himself has enough to be able to save themselves in this game. He tried his absolute hardest.
Oh, he's almost found him, but decides to turn towards 5 instead, but dies. And now that is the ace. Ladies and gentlemen, OMG are turning onto the inhibitor. They have got a massive minion wave, and they are going to take game number 2 against EDG. The 3rd place match is down to 3 games.
Unfortunate for EDG. They tried their best to come back, but they set themselves up to fail too early in. So OMG, they make it a 1-1 series. We have got one on our hands.
Yeah, once again, OMG come back against all odds. And take a look at them. Just another day in the office, and perhaps a bit of a head scratch from Koro. I was 2-0-1, 10 minutes in. I don't know what happened. Not quite able to put the whole team on his back, however. But this time, OMG turned the series around before Game 3. They do it in Game number 2, and this evens the footing a lot more than it did in their past best of 5, excuse me.
Yeah, it definitely does. So when we're looking at EDG against OMG in this series, perhaps getting that momentum a little bit sooner for the OMG roster will help them out coming into the 3rd game. EDG still showing some signs of inconsistency, however.
Yeah, and now joining us to help break down this game and take a look at that great plateau of gold is Indiana Frostgear in Black.
Yeah, that was a much cleaner game from OMG. Shoutouts to Icon. I'd be surprised if he didn't get the MVP there on another great Ahri performance, particularly in those 5v5s, although Xiyang was also putting in a lot of work.
Landing some clutch charms and doing that AoE damage.
It was mostly not even just his charms or the damage that he was doing. It was his positioning and zoning tools in the fight. Like, there were so many times that we were fighting around mid lane where EDG wouldn't follow up on such great fights where they were in a good position simply because they couldn't get around a corner to collapse together because Icon would be zoning off 2 or 3 members.
And if you don't throw the charm, they have to respect the charm, plain and simply, as a GLP to throw out instead of just using that charm. Again, having some committal crowd control that can hit an area to actually give him the ability to not just use all 3 Spirit Rushes, to actually set his team up.
Yeah, but I do agree with that. I want to start with the early game, though, because it wasn't just Icon who got this all propelled forward. It was the fact that his bottom lane and his top lane were doing really well solo. Smlz and 5 in particular were absolutely dominating Meiko and Zed down there. Multiple 2v2 kills being traded back and forth. And what it did is it forced this really interesting lane swap from EDG, where they swapped up at around 7:27 in the game because they could not deal with Smlz and 5 down there. And it was kind of 2 birds with 1 stone, because not only are you protecting Zet and Meiko from Smlz, but then you're also putting down Xiyang because he's now dealing with 3 to 4 people in his lane.
And that explains why we did see OMG prioritize Ashe early on, and why time and time again we see them try to get a strong AD carry pick before even the second round of bans, as OMG really prioritizing Smlz.
Yeah, and it almost worked out for EDG until that priority came around for Smlz, because the issue was that while they did a great job with the lane swap, while they did a great job kind of turning around OMG in the early game, they were unable to capitalize on it or push through into the mid game. They tried to push through for that second tier top tower, but they never got it down, and they never got the mid tower down until well late into the game. And then at the end, like, Xiyang and Smlz were still so much stronger than their lane opponents, so it came time for EDG to 5v5 very early, and they couldn't compete from a numbers advantage.
Yeah, and though we did see EDG find good flanks and find good vision, and Clearlove, again, we were sort of doubting whether or not, hey, he's been on the bench for a while. When we saw him last, he didn't have a great performance. He shows up, he gets early kills, he ganks his lane early on, he sets, Scout up for success, then he steals both Baron and Elder Dragon in the same game. It's good to see that he's still playing in form, but is he enough?
I mean, they play... So the thing that I did notice is that they play around him, but they're also putting too much into him. When they went for the Elder Dragon steal, he'd already used his ultimate, so he had no way to survive inside the pit when he jumped in. Yes, he got the steal, but Meiko actually walks into the pit to use his ultimate onto Clearlove when it should have been protecting Zet, letting him do damage.
Yeah, MVP, though, is going to go towards the other support. 5 gets Karma for this one.
What?
Protecting...
Congratulations.
Yeah? Perhaps protecting his carries?
Like, don't get me wrong, 5 is actually an impressive support, especially for the progress, the growth that he's made over this split. He kind of went from a no-name, invisible member on a team to now one of the fundamental core aspects. And yes, Smlz and 5 were absolutely destroying Meiko and Def Bottom, and so we have to give him credit for that. But I just feel like it was still the Xiyang and Icon show. So we take a look at that Elder Dragon steal.
Yeah, and this is again that moment where Meiko, look at his decision-making. He actually comes in to help. Zet is full health, but Scout has just been knocked in. So at what point are you deciding, to keep Clearlove alive as if he's going to carry higher than a Syndra, when you could have actually put some effort towards keeping him into a happy and healthy position? It is a tragic thing to see happen from EDG, because realistically, you're not meant to put that much emphasis on somebody that's throwing their life away to steal something.
100% agree, but the other thing is the fact that EDG were constantly walking into these Barons or these Elder Dragon fights, and yeah, they were playing from the back foot, so it makes sense, but they were not controlling their waves at all. Constantly, anytime they would lose a fight, they'd get punished so much harder because the waves were pushing against them, and they wouldn't be able to maximize when they did win those fights because they would have to reset their map.
Exactly. That's what we saw when they took the Baron in the mid lane. They took a single tier 1, then moved on to take the tier 2, then reset, had to take their waves, had to set up vision around the next big objective, which was that Elder Dragon. So OMG just running the